Good evening, people. Good evening. It's the Armoury TV. We're back with another episode. I've got a great cast with me today. We got guys from all around the board. We got Sam from Paxton Road, Omondi from the United Agenda, and we got Ian, Mr. Man City fan. We're going to break down the best 11 so far this season in the Premier League. So we're going to get into the intro video, and we're going straight into it. Yes, we're back. Lovely, lovely video. How does that make you feel watching that video, you guys down there? Feel you with as much joy as it fills me?
Yeah, it inspires me to trash this show and trash Arsenal Football Club like we did at Old Trafford 3-1 this season.
But anyway, that's Omondi there. How you keeping, brother? Okay?
Brilliant stuff.
Good to hear. Sam, how you keeping?
I'm good, thank you. I just didn't listen to the tune and just close my eyes, so it doesn't affect me.
And Ian, how you doing as well? Hope you are well.
The volume was off and I didn't seek to try to find the fix button.
It's not a problem. I can see what's going to happen on this stream here, but we're here to fight it out. I've got some good sparring partners with me. So what we're doing today, we're going through the top 11 in the Premier League this season. We're all going to have a say on who we think is going to play in them positions. There'll be some arguments, hopefully. We've got to come to a consensus though, and anything we can't decide on, you guys in the comments, please add your 2 piece in as well, because we may miss a player, or you may have some stats to back up one of the other guys' player or something like that. So we want to hear from everyone. Big up the people in the comments. We've got Silver Fox here. He doesn't know why you're here, Sam. He said because none of your players are going to make it. David Clark, he's very wet and he's in Leicester. Pyro's in the building, and yes, we're top of the league. And Silver Fox is saying he's only listening to Ian. He's not rating the other 2. And as you can see by the layout, there's a reason why we're laid out in this direction, but we'll get into that. I'll give a little bonus prize to whoever can figure it out while I'm at the top left and the Mondi's at the bottom right. But you know, but no, I hope everyone's well. Everyone in the building. Big up G Talks. Hope you're good. So yeah, what we're doing today, as I said, we're going through best 11. I've picked a 4-3-3 formation. The reason why I've gone for that is it's probably one of the most played formations in the league. 4-2-3-1, 4-4-3, very similar to me. We can move the 8 around. Also, the top 3 teams in the league are playing with that. So Arsenal, Newcastle, Man City are playing with that. So it makes sense to follow that style. I know Tottenham are third, but you're not playing good football, so we're not going to follow what you lot are doing. 8 defenders.
Third. Yeah, and this is going to start early. He's going to start early, isn't he?
I couldn't think of 8 defenders to play that style. So yeah, eight top defenders in the league would be difficult to pick out. So we've gone for 4-3-3. But yeah, again, we can be a bit flexible with it. So yeah, we're gonna get it off. Let's go with keepers. That's the first one we're gonna come into. Ian, give me your keeper of the season so far.
Yeah. When you asked me to come onto the show, I thought about 2 things. I thought about players who performed within their skin, and I thought about players who performed out of their skin. And I keep then going back to Newcastle. You know, when you look at their team, and yes, there was all the ballyhoo about oil money, etc., etc. But when you look at the spend of their team, when you look at where they've come from, it's incredible that I'm going to pick Pope out of Newcastle, a free transfer from Burnley. Burnley got relegated. So you've got a lad who's been a free transfer from Burnley, a club he's gone down with the previous season, and he joins what is looking like the meanest defence in the Premier League. He's got to be performing 20-30% out of his skin. All the other goalkeepers I can think of have either failed to fit into their skin, and you know, as a couple of fans around the table, you know, at United and possibly at Spurs, and you know, goalkeepers who just about fitted in their skin, like at Man City. But I'm going to pick Nick Pope for performing out of his skin.
Not a bad shout at all. Omondi, we'll come to you next. Have you got someone different in mind who you'd like to put into this team?
Yeah, a really great shout, Ian, first of all, and big up to Armoury TV. Yeah, what you say about performing in your skin and performing outside your skin as well, I think that's a great way to sort of judge this season because we're only 14 games in. No need to boast up after 14 games. You know what I mean? So I think my short list is Ramsdale. I think he's playing out of his skin. I think he's a really good keeper. His distribution is fantastic. As we saw when we played at Old Trafford, I just thought he's picking up Ben White 30, 40 yards, no problem. He's got character as well. He's got a big personality. I love him. I love him like that. And the guy from Southampton, Banzunu, as well. And I also want to big up Pope as well. But then he did make a spillage at international level. Newcastle, don't know how they're getting such a great defensive record, but they're doing something right. I don't think it's entirely down to him, though. So I'm going to go for Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale's been fantastic. I like him. He's got a lot of character, and he should be England's number one.
Oh, not bad. I wasn't expecting that one. Sam, we're coming to you next.
Yeah, it depends. Depends on how you look at it. So I guess some people look at it as if a goalkeeper's making save after save, and that's fantastic. To me, a goalkeeper's the one, your last line of defense. So if the defenders in front of him are doing a good job, he should be called upon the least. So a good goalkeeper, in my opinion, is one that's going to be called upon in the times when he's needed. And for what I can see, yeah, Nick Pope is. I like him. Is he as good distribution-wise as some of the other keepers? No, I don't think so. So I look at, I've shortlisted it. Nick Pope, I had Ramsdale in there, but I still can't look too much further past Alisson or even, City's, what's your keeper's name in again?
Edison,
that's right. I still can't look too much further past them two, because Liverpool not having a great season, but still have only conceded 17 goals. Manchester City joint best defense, third best defense after Arsenal and Newcastle. So I'm going to go with, it might surprise you, I'm going to go with Alisson because I just think he's still the best keeper in the world in terms of just being able to pull out saves when necessary. His distribution is fantastic and he's assisted with goals. So I'm going with Alisson.
That makes it difficult for me now, don't it? I thought this was going to be a sure fit-in. I like all your points, to be fair. Alisson and Edison have been brilliant for seasons, and I don't think they're doing anything I don't expect from them. I don't want to make it who's exceeding expectations because someone might be exceeding expectation, but still might not be the best in that position.
Exactly.
Nick Pope has got the best record so far, I think, this season, isn't he? I think it's him and Ramsdale are number 1 and 2 conceded. I think what Ramsdale has is the ball playing capability over Pope. This makes it very difficult. I want to be fair on this as well.
Look at the comments. Look at the comments. Come on, people.
I don't want to just put
That's what you got to do. You've got to look at the comments, man. Look what people are saying. That's because they know football. Not to say that you guys don't know football, but I'm just saying the goalkeeper Nick Pope ain't the best goalkeeper in the Premier League just because he's got the
on that basis. If it's all about listening to the people, you're very happy with the Conservative government and you're happy to be outside Europe. Is that what democracy brings you?
No, this is a great.
You don't have to listen to all the people.
This is real.
Some of the people, some of the time. Not all the people, all the time. There you go.
Right. Who am I putting in? So
Alisson, come on, fam.
Just to make it interesting. To make it interesting, though, I do want to kind of mix up a bit. I don't want to just be heavy rotation on one team. And I feel Arsenal probably have another 2 who should be in there. So I'm not going to put Ramsdale in. And again, actually, for me, I don't think Ramsdale's made saves like he made last year. Some of the saves he pulled off last year were unbelievable. And I don't think he's really... I don't think Ramsdale's won me any points. I think I need to look at it that way. For a keeper, has Ramsdale, he's been solid, but has he won me any points? Is there any games I've come away and if it wasn't for Ramsdale, we would have got beat. I know De Gea's had games like that. Lloris has given Arsenal points. I think Lloris has given Arsenal more points than Ramsdale has this season, to be fair. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go with Nick Pope. Just because I feel they're overperforming Liverpool, and he is a part of that. Liverpool have been on the receiving end of some lashes this season, so for that reason,
can I ask one quick question? Just to
go on.
If Pickford couldn't play tomorrow for England, who would go in goal next, Ramsdale or Pope? Just asking that question Because as I said, because you based it on what Ramsdale's doing, what
Walker.
doing, I don't believe that he's going to be number 2 in line after Pickford, which suggests to me he's not the second best goalkeeper.
I do think there's probably a right back who will probably go and goal next if Southgate had his way. Yeah, I do think Ramsdale's the better keeper, but I think, as I said, we're not going on who's the better, it's who's had the better season.
If I could just mention England, hypothetically, if I was the England manager, I'd have 2 decisions really. I'd also choose a goalkeeper who had some relationship with at least 1 or 2 of the back 4 in the team. So if you pick Pickford, you possibly got to play Cody. They've been talking to each other all season. It would seem logical to have an axis rather than pick a goalkeeper who has no relationship with any of the back 4. Just a thought.
Yeah, and on that point, I've done a preview the other day of who I would start for England, and I said I'd go Ben White and Stones as my centre backs with Ramsdale as my keeper, because you've got 3 players who play very similar. Well, 2 of them play together, and City play exactly the same style as Arsenal and such. So for me, I would build my back 3 around that, because it should be pretty easy to slot in together. This is a difficult one. I tell you what, I'm going to stick with Nick Pope. I think Ramsdale hasn't done. He's been solid, but he hasn't done anything.
Can I just point out, if you were a goalkeeper with your decision skills, you'd have been stood on the line when the ball went past you 5 minutes ago.
I would have got a yellow card already. I would have had a yellow card for time wasting for my goal kick. Drop off to the left back or the right back.
That waffle all the way to get back to Nick Pope again was just like incredible.
Yeah, you know how we do it over here. So I thought this would be the easy one. I thought this would be the quickest one to do, but obviously not. But yeah, I'm going to go Nick Pope. As I said, I just don't think Ramsdale's done anything outstanding this year. I think he's just been solid. I'm going over in my head our player ratings every week, and he doesn't really score more than a 7. And I think that's because our back 4's been so strong. He hasn't had to do as much. So yeah, I'm going to go Nick Pope. I think he deserves it. We're moving to left back, and I think this is probably, this is quite an interesting one. Don't think there's been many outstanding left backs. I think someone's probably going to have something to say on next to me, so I'm not going to go there first. Left back, I'm going to come to someone who hasn't got a good left back. Sam, what are you saying? And he's got even worse right backs.
That's very, very good. Left back, he's a difficult one. In our system, fullback's very important, obviously with the 3-4-3, and it's wing backs as opposed to fullback. So again, I'm probably looking at it from a different perspective. As in, I want my wing backs to be more attacking as opposed to be more defensive. This is where we've got a bit of a conundrum as to what do you look for in a modern day fullback, wing back, blah blah blah. So I look at both things, defensively and offensively, and I have to say, and I don't like to say, but I'm going to have to probably go with Zinchenko. The reason I'm saying that, and I know that he's been in and out of the team, but the fact that you had Kieran Tierney as your main left back, and he's actually pretty decent. And again, speaking as a Spurs fan here, and he's come in, and people saying, "Oh, is Zinchenko going to play midfield?" He's played left back, and he's kept him out of the team, and he's still keeping him out of the team. So for me, I'm only going to go on that basis because he then feels both quotas in terms of their attacking side, can come into the midfield, can play wide left, can play defensively, and has all the attributes to be a good fullback. Whether that be a wing back, I don't know. But fullback wise, in a 4-3-3 system, I'm going to go with Zinchenko.
Not bad at all. Omondi, who's your pick at left back?
My pick is Rico Henry. I think Rico Henry is, for me,
shout.
I live in Brentford. I've always watched him in the Championship as well. Sort of know him indirectly as well. And it's not biased cool, but I do rate him. I think he's been sensational. I was a bit surprised he didn't really get us in the running for the England squad either, because they're short on left backs. It's only Shaw, I think, who's left-footed playing left back there. So I think Rico Henry, like Sam was saying about systems as well, he's more of a wing back as well. But he's got he's got an engine, and he's got acceleration as well. And part of this Brentford unit, the team that they're doing right now, is the best era in their history, I believe, and they're doing brilliantly. And I think that he gives them balance in that system. You do need to have good fullbacks or wing backs, whatever you call them. And I think he gives them so much balance with that left foot. You see, even recently, I was watching him, studying him the other day, and he was up and down and just driving force for Brentford as well. So I think he's got a lot of attributes for the modern day fullback or wing back, as you call it. and I think he's a bit overlooked as well. So I'm not trying to be clever or splash by bringing players that maybe I could say Cancelo and all these guys, but I do think Rico Henry deserves a lot of shouts and plaudits, because I think if you really watch his game and start to watch Brentford properly, I think you'd start to admit that he is a good player, and I'm surprised no one's been in for him, maybe in the summer. So Rico Henry gets my slot, and with Cancelo as a B team, just in case.
Back up, I like that. Ian, where are we going?
Two players I like who I think are underrated before the player who I just think is odds on for this role. There's just no doubt. I like Lucas Dean. I think he's come back into his game at Villa. He's got a beautiful left foot. I think the lad Mitchell at Palace is super consistent every game. He gives such support down that left flank to Wilf Zaha in front of him, covering it all the time. His simple ball to Zaha, knowing he's going to fire the bullets at Palace, are great. But I can't think of another left back who has got the ability of Andy Robertson at Liverpool. And he'll be, unfortunately for all of us around here, nicely rested, ready to resume his duties. But the guy has got a cannonball of a left foot, far more than anyone else. Those lethal balls across the box that he bangs across, he's a machine. He's just a machine. And I wish City had got him.
Oh, so he's gone Robertson. You think Robertson's been the best this season? Not just the biggest name, but like actually he's been
I think
best
he's
left
been,
back.
I think if you've got to talk about Alisson and Edison as continuing in their groove of quality goalkeepers, performing in that top 10% in the world, you've got to keep Andy Robertson in there. Liverpool have had lots and lots of other shortfalls. At right back, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold, again, he's got a cannonball of a right foot, fantastic, but he's hopeless at defending, just hopeless. And they've had all sorts of in and outs and midfields, real inconsistency there. They've had Jota injured all the time. They've had Diaz injured all the time. So you've got to give Robertson a shout. If you think he hasn't performed on the top of his game, he's not a one-man team. And I'm sure the form and the absenteeism of all the rest of the team has had an effect. So, no, I would pick him in my team every day.
He hasn't played all season, obviously, because injuries earlier. So if I'm going to take that way of looking at it, then I'd put someone like Reece James in there. He was playing fantastically well up until the point he got injured. And again, he's a player that would have been nailed on to probably start.
Isn't he a right back?
Sorry. I'm thinking.
No, but it still applies.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's why I went with Zinchenko.
But the best left back that I've seen this season in games has been Andy Robertson. Zinchenko, Zinchenko has had probably as many games out as Andy Robertson has. His is at the end, and Robertson's was at the beginning of the season. But remember, I've watched Zinchenko for years, and I forewarn those Arsenal fans who've gone wild about him. Yes, he has wonderful ability in midfield, and yes, if you're picking a left-sided midfielder, but we're picking a left back. And again, defensively, the ball over the top, the ball inside. You wait. If the Arsenal season falls off the rails, it's going to happen down that side of the park.
Yeah, just to add to that with the Shevchenko guy, I think he's a good player, and I think he's good for the system. It's good for the system. I think a lot of these, when we're picking players, like you said, it's not going to be like all top six players, because we know the systems are good, so anyone can really come in and fill in and do a good job, even if you're like a championship kind of player. Sometimes you have to sort of go with that. So I do think Shevchenko's good. I think he knows the system really well. He does create overloads in midfield, coming into midfield. But by doing that, as we saw against Man United, it also creates openings and splits your defence, and your defence is wide open. So he's a good player for your system. But I think the others named maybe are better left backs than him. If you're a winger and you're driving at him, you think got more opportunity against Shevchenko. What's his name? Chinchenko. Excuse me, sorry. You got more opportunity against him than you would do against Rico Henry, pace, youth, and all that kind of thing. He ain't having it. And Mitchell as well, from that Ian mentioned. All these other guys, I think they're better on one-on-ones and duels and all that kind of thing in the defensive phase of play.
And we've got to look at the defensive side of things. I think with Robertson, he's so attacking-minded that space is always left. So we've seen how Liverpool can get caught out with the high line that they play. So I'm just saying, if you're looking at a fullback, you've got to look at defence and attack. If you're looking at wing backs, it's more focused on the attack. So this is why the argument's a bit difficult for me.
Yeah, right. I'm going to draw a line under it. In my head, Cancelo, but again, we're going to have to be debating all day long. And actually, I think the one person we haven't had anything negative to say was Rico Henry. I think he's performed all season. Whereas again, Zinchenko's had injuries, Robertson's had injuries. Whereas I think Rico Henry's just gone about his business all season. So for me, I think we put him in at left back. He's been consistent. I think there's cases for all of them where you can pick apart some of their game. Whereas actually Rico Henry does both sides of the ball very well, doesn't he? So we'll go with Rico Henry as a left back. And we're going to move on to the right back position. This one gets interesting. Omondi, you haven't been first yet, so we're going to go with you. Who is being your standout right back this season?
Kieran Trippier. Do I need to explain? I think he's been amazing. I think he's a leader of men. He's got character, high character. I've heard a lot of pros talk about him. Obviously, he went to Atletico Madrid, Diego Simeone, drills, training. He's come back a better player, 10 times a better player. People say he could be a manager in the future. He's really, I think he's the catalyst for Newcastle. Great signing for them, you know. Free kicks.
Do you regret not getting him because you was linked with him?
Well, he's a Man United boy. I think his family support Manchester United. Maybe Ian can confirm that or not.
He started at City.
I think he supports Man United. The family does, even though he was at City. Yeah. But regardless, I don't no regrets.
Half the world supports Man United. That's no criteria.
Ronaldo.
Just boost up. Good one. Just to boost up Kieran Trippier. Free kicks, set pieces. Yeah, very good. Leadership qualities, character. Hardly ever see him get beaten. He's always in position, in shape, because that's why he doesn't get beaten so much, because he's always back in shape and that kind of thing. He can get marauding forward, and you can see him in defensive positions, tucking him with his centre-backs as well. They've got a good defensive record. I think the defence is a unit, and I think he's the voice there as well, with another... He's done really well to get some English players in there, and I will talk about one of the centre-backs later on, but I think Kieran Trippier is a standout for me. Maybe there's some better players like Trent on his day and all this kind of thing, pound for pound, but Trippier is the mentals as well is what's taking me there. I love him at the moment. I think he's a great player.
I agree. Not bad at all. I'm going to put mine in now. I'm going Trippier as well. I think Ben White's been brilliant, but for me, I think Trippier just offers you a little bit more going forward. So here going for me. Sam?
Yeah, like I said, it was going to be, like I said, I think the shout's been said between Ben White and Trippier. You've got to look at what Trippier brings. He's been at Spurs, so we know his qualities. He's got that quality in the final third. So exactly what Omondi said, I back that every way. You can't look past that. Look where Newcastle are on the table. Look how many goals it scored. And look what he's been involved in from an assist perspective as well. So, yeah, I'm going with Kieran Trippier.
Lovely. And Ian, you can give us another player if you want, but Trippier wins.
No,
so
I can't think of another player at all that gets anywhere near him. And I
was going to add Emerson Royal. Emerson Royal. That's my beating.
You're joking. You've got to be joking. You've got to be joking. 100% endorsement. And I liked what Omondi had to say about not just the ability on the pitch, but the leadership and the upstairs mental ability. And he's 32 or 33 years old, isn't he? So that's a heck of a performance for a player that age.
Yeah, fair play. And yeah, I was probably one who thought his time was up when he went Atletico and it didn't really work out. I didn't think he would come back and do anything. So I think Arsenal were linked with him for a little bit.
All my mates in Spain said he was the best right back in the league.
Really? I don't really watch Spanish football anymore, I'll be honest with you. But it was the fact he was coming back. I thought he must have. Why are they getting rid of him? So he is 32. I've just checked Ian. So I'm happy to go with Trippier at right. Well, I think we will go with Trippier right back. Let's move on to another quick one. Really nice and easy. I'm going to take this one. We're going to go into the right centre back position. Any discussion I don't think is needed. William Saliba.
Okay. Let's move on.
Happy to take him. It's an Armoury TV show and everyone knows what he's about. So any pushbacks, Ian? Any pushbacks?
I mean,
I'm not pushing. I'm not going to do that pause.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Omondi looks like he wants to say something.
Yeah, probably by a short neck. There's been quite a few decent right-sided centre-backs, but yes, he has performed a lot better than I ever thought he would do.
Thank you. Omondi?
Yeah, look, I've been arguing with your very own Gunner King, Christopher King. You know, when I can get a word in. But he's been posting up about Saliba. Very good player. I'm really impressed. And I'm not here to diss him or anything like that. But let's be real about this. Handballs, giving away penalties, own goals. He's young. I'll give him that. But let's not boast him up too much after 14 games. He's hardly playing Champions League football. He's never played Champions League football. He's at Marseille. He only played Europa League last season. So let's see how he does playing a combination of Premiership, Champions League, Premiership, Champions League at that level. Because has he got the Kieran Trippier mentals? Granted, he's a physical beast. I've seen him strolling. He seems to stroll around the pitch and think, sorry, time out. Take it away.
Right, time out. Aren't we dealing with this season and the players playing in the Premiership?
Yeah.
14 games. We're looking at 14 games.
If I'm looking at him from a 3-year perspective, but this season he's been far the best defender. We can't. I'm not even trying to take that away. He's been the best defender.
Hold on. Wait.
Saying that, we have to have some balance. Own goal, penalties given away against Man United. Completely wasn't. It's wide open. Ericsson, who's slow as hell, was jogging through the middle of them.
Going to Man United, that's one game out of 14.
I know.
So what I'm saying is, every single centre back, we can go through all of them. Oh, I
want to get this.
No need for that at all. I'll take it. No, what I was going to say was, you've got to look at this season. Every single centre back's had bad games. That's fair. And the Butcher has as well. We can go through all of the centre backs.
Can I give you one right-sided centre back who I believe has not had a bad game, and that's Anderson at Crystal Palace. I watched that guy. His control, his ability, the way he plays the ball out of defence. He's so underrated. It's untrue.
Yeah.
And what? 10 million quid.
So Newcastle, and Dan Bell. I don't know which one plays either side, but both those two.
No, he plays right with Guay on the left for Palace, and those two lads together are bloody fantastic. Anderson is a heck of a right-sided centre back.
Yeah,
I understand that your man at Arsenal has taken all the plaudits because of the position in the league, but watch Anderson at Palace. He's tremendous.
He's good, and he's got a mean diagonal. He's got a mean diag. He has.
Yeah, big time. Let me just clarify. I'm just saying I picked Saliba as well, but I just want to bring you back down to earth a little bit.
That's all good. That's all good. We're going to keep pushing through because we're almost halfway through the show. We're not out of the
crazy to from them two just then.
Martinez at left centre back for me.
All right, so we're going left centre backs now.
Martinez.
Omondi's got Martinez. We're going to go straight over to Sam.
But that's the same thing I'd say. Martinez, we ain't seen him in the Premiership for too long. Is he having a great start to the season? We can do all this, but Martinez, for me, I've watched him. He's a quality centre back. I can't remember if it's Ben Botman at Newcastle, but again, is he left-sided?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Again, he's got range in his passing as well. He's defensively sound. Him and Dan Birds have made a quality partnership, and you can see from the stats that they must have done something because
Botman didn't make the Newcastle first 11 until the last 5 games. Just a thought on that one. He's only come good in the last 5. So if you're picking a player who's lasted the whole season, he probably shouldn't be there because he's only played half the games on merit.
Fair enough.
So again, I don't know. As Martinez, since he's been there, he was in and out of the team at the start because he weren't quite sure. We can do this all day. You have to look at performances. When you've been brought into the team, whether or not you didn't get that, and you've performed consistently well, even if it's been for those 5, I'd say if it was 2 games, I'd understand. But 5, 6, 7 games, I think that's enough to say, yeah. Hence the reason I've gone with Saliba. Hence the reason I'm going to go with Botman on this one for those reasons.
Okay. If I could have one last suggestion on Joachim Anderson, wasn't it glorious when was it Nunes at Liverpool gave him a bit of a tap? He went down and he got sent off as a result. I think he should win just for that alone. Just for that alone.
I agree with you. So just to double check, Sam, you've gone for Botman. Omondi's gone for Martinez. Ian, who are you going for?
I'm going for Joachim Anderson. I think he's been fantastic. Saliba is good, but
so we're on the left side now. We're on the left side.
Oh, so on the left side, I want to mention Guay.
You can play him there if you wanted to.
Yeah, I want to. No. Anderson's right side. Sorry, it was the reception that I lost you on that one. I thought I didn't know we'd slam dunk the right hand side. But on the left hand side, I want to mention Guay because I think he's certainly been in the best 5. I want to mention Omondi at Liverpool, at City, who's come from nowhere. You know, I think he was a reserve centre back at Dortmund. But boy, Omondi's come into that team and looked all commanding. Who else? I think I like the new guy Wise at Leicester. I think he's come into the Premier League, absolutely hit the deck running with all that hair. It's not just the hair. He's a big, commanding centre back like Anderson on the right. That's it.
Cool.
So who's your pick?
I've got some good names, but we need a name. Who's your left centre back?
I'm going to go for Dan Burn for the period of time that he played in that role. He's now been squeezed out to left back.
Ooh. I get the deciding vote. I'm going to give it to... I was liking the Botman one. I'm going to go to Martinez at United. I don't think any of us expected him to be able to deliver the way he did. There was a lot of banter going into it. And he's showing promise. I think once you put him next to a half-decent centre-back, next to Varane, he then looked a different player. But he's holding his own. Well, Maguire, you saw what happened when he was playing with Maguire. And that's not fair on him as a player, Martinez, to play next to Maguire. So, yeah, we're going with him, right? We're going to move. As I said, I'm aware of the time.
Can you say, isn't he related to that Lannister guy in Game of Thrones? That always hits his the way I look at him.
Is it thing called Lissandro Lannister? Right, we're going to go into the DM. So I've picked 3 in midfield. So what I did was one who's going to play a DM, one's going to play more of a centre mid box to box, as we say at 8, and one who's more attacking midfielder at 10. So I know some of these players can cross over. So we're going to try and fit him in as best we can. If some of you feel he plays more like an 8, but we're going to put him in a 10 in this, it doesn't matter to me. 3 best midfielders. But just give it a bit of variety. I don't want 3 holding midfielders or 3 number 10s in there. So DM, I'm going to go first again on this one because I just don't think it's really a conversation. Thomas Partey, I think he's been the best DM this season. People might say Guimaraes, and I'm not going to argue much about it. I think we can move him into the 8 if we really need to. But for me, Partey goes into my team. Ian, you're blessed with midfielders. Who are you putting in?
I can't believe you've not mentioned him. The guy, Rodri at City, is an absolute machine. He never makes a mistake. He is consistency day in, day out. He hammers up and down that field. He is Yaya in disguise. He's just a commanding midfielder. Watch the World Cup. Watch how he holds Spain together. Yeah,
all right, so we've got one for Rodri.
Guimaraes, I believe, has played a little bit further up the park. I don't class him as a defensive midfielder at all. He's a playmaker. But Rodri,
deep lying,
Rodri, he's the master.
I hear you. So who are you going for, Sam? The master or the apprentice? Or you got another random name for us?
Ian's kind of gone through it. Like I said, you could look at Thomas Partey, but we've only got a maximum of 2 Arsenals at any given point. Is that true? Or we can say unlimited amounts?
No, we can say
it's your show, mate.
No, I'm just going to keep it as fair as possible. But we can always change one if we feel there's too much Arsenal in there. We can move them around a bit. So you vote how you want to vote, because I think in the other areas there's other players.
Thomas Partey is a very fair shout. Again, because of the systems, we don't have a defensive midfielder per se in a 3-4-3. So when we played 3-5-2, we haven't performed in that. Also, I would have put someone like Højbjerg in there potentially, but again, different system. So I'm going to go with the players that I know. And Ian said it's spot on. Rodri, for me, just consistently good in that position. I would say Partey would be my B choice, but yeah, Rodri.
Okie dokie, Omondi.
Sorry, forgive me, because when I've done the team, I've obviously put my team down, but I haven't got a defensive midfielder on my team. I just thought, who's the best 3 midfielders I could put in this 4-3-3, and without thinking about sort of
position.
Position. Yeah. So
no structure in midfield. No structure in midfield. It's the United way, isn't it?
Ooh, more shots.
It's like I'm playing trump cards.
Let's all run forward. Let's all run forward.
I should have known with the tactical genius Gumsa. I should have known better. But yeah, let me just say this: I think Declan Rice is up there, one of the best players in the league. Mm-hmm. And whether he's a DM or not, I don't even know. But I just think he's outstanding. I'm just saying, I haven't seen you guys more qualified than me. You probably see more football than me. But when West Ham played Man United recently, I was overwhelmed about just how good this guy is. I never knew about him that much. I thought, okay, he's English, he does his thing, runs or whatever. He's an outstanding player. And we do like a show called the Eye Test where we sort of go through and analyze things. And that's why I've been analyzing a lot of Man United games. And obviously that's when I see the opposition. Otherwise, it's just like highlights usually. So I'm not qualified to say, but I hear Partey's been playing well. I've seen that the only game he missed was against Man United and he lost. And obviously Rodri is in a system that works for him. Like he strolls around the pitch. Would he work in another team? I'm not sure. Shout out to Scott McTominay as well. I think he's outstanding as well. Underrated. I really... seriously,
how can you mention
underrated.
Declan Rice and Scott McTominay in the same breath?
Seriously underrated. I'm going to go with Declan Rice. From what I saw
with my own eyes, so well there, Mondi.
What I saw with my own eyes, I thought Declan Rice has got everything. We've got Casemiro, we've got Eriksen in a sort of double block, and they've obviously different players. They give you different things. Declan Rice outplayed both of them and could do what they both do easily. And just running the whole game. It's only when Scott McTominay came on that he gave him something to think about, you know. But Declan Rice, I'm really shocked. Great player.
Fair enough. The panel have voted, so it looks like Rodri gets into the team because he's got 2 votes. Rice and Partey get 1 each. So we've gone with Rodri. Playing a bit in front of him, so we've gone for the number 8 position. So central midfielder. And we're going to go to Ian first because it's...
My first thought is Guimaraes at Newcastle. I think he's had a wonderful season. Phil Foden is just awesome. And you can pick any of the apart from defensive midfield, any of the midfield roles for Phil Foden. I think that, if I'm not sure who fulfills that role at Arsenal, but I love Martinelli. I think he's bloody fantastic.
I'm thinking more centre midfield.
Saka on the right. But
centre midfielder right now. Sorry, Ian.
I'm actually going to... The pure central midfielder is Guimaraes at Newcastle. All the other players are a little bit more left or right-sided. But the only one I can think of through the middle who's that commanding, is Guimaraes.
All right, not a problem. Sam, we come on to you. Central midfielder.
I'm going to be Spurs biased on this one. Fortunately for me, I look at both of our central midfielders this season. Now, some might say, your style of play, this and that. But our central midfielders in terms of Rodrigo Bentancur and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg have been fantastic for us. They have been consistently our best 2 players of recent times, more so Bentancur. He's got that box to box. He's got his quality in defense as well. He bring the ball out. He can spray passes. He can now score goals. Complete midfielder. So if you're looking for a central midfielder who can do everything, he can play in a 3-4-3, he can play in a 3-5-2, he can play off the right, he can play off the left. He could even, if you wanted to play him as a deep line, because he can pick the ball up and do things. Is he specifically a defensive midfielder? Obviously not. But as a central midfielder, I've got to go with Rodrigo Bentancur, 100%.
Not a bad shout. Omondi.
Like I said, I messed up because I just threw players in there.
Yeah, no, it's fine, but some of them are interchangeable.
Trossard from Brighton. He's not really... But I do like him.
He's really a number 10, really. But
so I've got Maddison, Odegaard, and De Bruyne. And obviously De Bruyne is probably the best.
I don't mind you playing. I don't mind you playing De Bruyne in that position because I feel he has played in. He's box to box, isn't he? So for me,
so I'm going to put De Bruyne in.
I was saving him to fight Saka on the right with Foden fighting Martinelli on the left.
No, we right.
I have to go De Bruyne then. So you're saying there's 6, 8, and 10 in the midfield, yeah?
Yeah, De Bruyne can fit into the 8 or the 10, so it doesn't. He's got to go into the team.
It's close between him and Odegaard. I think Odegaard's a fantastic player. Just beyond, since he's been 16, he's had the IQ.
As a
top player.
Tell you what we're going to do.
As an 8, though?
Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to... Hold on.
Maybe not. Yeah. All right, De Bruyne.
Let's do this. Let's move into the number 10 first because you called a few names on Monday. So for me, the number 10 is probably out of Maddison and De Bruyne. For me personally, I don't think Odegaard's done enough to get that position.
Not Saka.
Not in the 10. We're going to get to left wing and right wing a bit later. So that 10 position, that central behind the striker. Yeah, Omondi's called out a couple of names. I think Maddison and De Bruyne.
Maddison is a 10 and De Bruyne is an 8. I think those two are outstanding.
So Maddison as a 10, De Bruyne as an 8. Right, what would your 10 be, Sam? And then we can see where De Bruyne, because De Bruyne is going to get in. It's just which position we put him in. Who would you think for your 10? Sam.
I'm just having a quick look because the way that what's it called play? I'm looking at Miguel Armoury. Is he more of a right side?
No, he'd be on the wing. He'd be on the wing.
Okay.
He'd be on the right wing.
That's what, because I know he's kind of popped up in that sometimes, and for Newcastle, so I was kind of, because he's been fantastic. I'm going to go with the number 10. I'm going to go James Maddison on this one. I think consistently, again, goals, he's got everything. And I want him at Spurs. So, yeah, James Maddison.
No problem. And Ian, who would you go for that central position behind the striker?
Yeah. I endorse Omondi saying Kevin De Bruyne if we're going to have that central midfielder. But I will see Saka as a number 10 rather than, I'd play someone outside. But Maddison's been bloody brilliant. So if the team go with Maddison, I'll support it. But I love Saka. I think he's fantastic.
We probably will get Saka soon. He might get somewhere else. So we're going to go with Maddison as the number 10, as he's got 3 votes in there. And then I'm going to go with Omondi and go De Bruyne as my 8. So he's going to be a box-to-box midfielder.
Even Xhaka, like what Tony's saying here, because I think that's a brilliant shout for this season. But he has played a bit higher up, so he's not even really a 10, though, is it? What do you say?
Nah, he's played the advanced 8 role. Do you know what I mean? Partey does the more get on the ball and play, and he does
the way that Pep and Arteta play the number 10 role. If you think about City last season, it is a fluid role. It's not a pure role that we used to think about. So when I thought about Saka, I just thought if he was at City, that's where Pep would play him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and again, a lot of these kind of front positions, it is very interchangeable. It said someone mentioned Foden. I see him more as a central player long term than he is on the wing, but I think he just applies his trade now on the side.
Perhaps so he's played a lot on the left.
But I've seen him play 1 or 2 games in the centre, and he absolutely bossed it one game last season. It was unbelievable watching him. So yeah, I think there's a lot of interchanging.
His touch is incredible.
And he can see a pass as well. Reminds me of a young Jack Wilshere. So just less injuries. But right, we're going to move on. We've got our midfield. Our midfield's locked in, and I think we're all quite in agreement. I do like the shout of Bentancur. I think he has been good. But yeah, I think De Bruyne and Maddison.
Just quick question. You put in the team a number 10. Like, is number 10 still valid in the game? I mean, in modern football,
it's not really.
It's a good shout. It's an interchangeable position.
A traditional number 10 used to be someone you could connect the midfield and the attack, and you play through him. You think about the old Serie A number 10s, that kind of thing. But I think with Pep,
I was thinking Beardsley and Lineker.
It's too congested
now. Think of Beardsley and Lineker with Beardsley as a 10 and Lineker as a 9. That's the old-fashioned style.
Or Andy Cole. But that zone is so...
He's always got to get United in this, somehow. I'm
talking Newcastle, but he's at Newcastle. that area there is so congested these days that I think 10s like De Bruyne, they stay out of that area and only go in there at certain times. So... It's an interesting one because when you think about a player like Dele Alli, he was smashing it, but now it seems like he can't find a position. So we talk about Maddison, we talk about De Bruyne. These players, you have to have a bit more something extra to the game to be the traditional number 10 just sitting in there because it's just too congested in my opinion.
I hear that. And again, I think even
I don't think Dele Alli could find the bathroom, never mind a pass these days.
Oh dear. Yeah, like you said, the formations have changed slightly. The 10 before was your Mavericks, your Cantonas, your Bergkamps, your Zolas, those guys. Whereas now the number 10 role is a lot more. They've got to get through a lot more work. They help defensively. I look at Odegaard, I look at Mason Mount, De Bruyne. They do both sides of the ball again, but they are still they got a bit more license. And I think Maddison probably has been. Yeah, he's been at Maverick high like as a number 10 this year. So not mad at it. We're going to move on to the left wing now, though. So the guy who's probably spoke the most amount of sense today for once, Sam. We're going to come to you first.
Oh, my God. What do you mean for once? You was doing so well.
You were the same guy who was telling me Tottenham were winning the league in pre-season and all of that.
Is the league finished?
Not yet.
Okay,
so we're going on the left wing. And it's where they play mainly, not what we think they can play, where they play mainly for their clubs this season. Left wing, I'm talking your St. Maxims, I'm talking Martinelli's on that side. For you guys, Ivan Perisic or Son, like left-sided players.
Son's
been out there performing.
Terrible. I in normal circumstances, I would be singing songs praise, but he's been terrible. I say terrible, he's not reached the heights that he has previously. I think Phil Foden's a left-sided player, but then
He's been
again,
on
he
the left
pops up on the right.
Mm.
I think he's a fantastic footballer. Obviously, Martinelli's been playing there regularly on that left-hand side. And I'm only going to go between those two players. And I don't think Jack Grealish has done enough for me at City to cement that left-hand side place. So I look at if there's a choice, if Pep had a choice of Foden on the left or Grealish, I think he's playing Foden all day long, in my opinion, at this moment in time. And I'm going to go with Phil Foden on the left wing. I think he's brilliant.
This guy's talking sense today. I think if you catch Sam after 9 o'clock in the evening, it's like the blood sugars are starting to just drop a little bit, and it just comes into a normal realm.
I endorse. I endorse what Sam said, but I just want to whisper one more name in everybody's ear. Phil Foden's got it nailed, but Wilfried Zaha.
Ooh, I didn't think of him, you know.
That's a nice shout. It's a good shout. But he's too petulant for me. I just don't like his attitude. I just don't like it. But great player. You got to have the attitude. So
he is the warthog.
He definitely is.
I think for me, he's just blown a bit hot and cold this year. He's been brilliant in half the games. In a few games, he's just been non-existent. But he is quite. I would still take him at Arsenal now, to be fair. So you going with Foden as well?
It's wonderful,
Ian.
Yeah,
you've gone two for Foden. I've got to go with what Rashford is saying.
Let Omondi go. Watch him say Rashford or something like that. Go on. Let him go. Rashford. What are you going to say?
I love Foden. I think he's England's best player, to be honest. But I was with this inside forward business. I don't know, because I want to put Martinelli in. I'm talking about players I've seen play. Obviously, I watched all Man United games, and Martinelli, he came up against Dalot, and I just thought he was unstoppable. He's got so much drive. He's just turned it up this season, levels. He's just unstoppable. How do you stop this guy? He can drive. He's not even in the Brazilian squad. I mean, how good must they be?
He did make it in the end, but whether he plays or not.
Sorry, forgive me. I thought he wasn't.
Yeah.
He didn't make it. Yeah, but for me, the best player I've seen in that position this season is Martinelli, because I'm thinking, how do you stop this guy? I've seen him up against our defenders, and I'm thinking we really struggled with him and Saka as well at the same time. But I just think I'm going to put Martinelli in that position, and I would put Phil Foden maybe on the other side. I don't know if he's played there too often. Ian would know, but I'm not qualified for that. But I do think Martinelli in that position a nightmare.
I haven't seen him play on the right.
Okay.
Just left or centre, and I like Martinelli. I just don't think he's as finished as Foden.
Possibly, yeah. Agreed.
I'm going to throw another name in, because I think the right side is going to be a right battle as well at the moment. No one going for Trossard. I know we mentioned him as a central. He's played all over the place.
He's been
so good. Where does he play? Where does he play? What system do they play? I want to know, because I'm not entirely sure.
I've seen him pop up all over the place. So he's played in as 10, he's played in 8, left wing.
What formation?
Brighton, sometimes they do play wing backs quite a lot.
He's very fluid, though. If you watch Brighton play, Trossard's very fluid across that front line. And because they haven't got a specific, we're playing 4-3-3 every week, they might change. They might play a 3 at the back. Sometimes they'll go into 4. Trossard just is that link player that can do all that bit. So he fits into all the systems, because you can play him in a 2, because you can play him as a 1 behind. If you play him in a 3, you can play him off the right-hand side. If you play a 3-4-1-2, you can have him just... So he's very, very versatile. So I don't know where he plays. He's not a left-sided player, but he's just a good footballer.
My thing is, has he been... The names we mentioned, don't you know, Foden, I think, is absolutely amazing. Has he lit up this season? My argument is that Trossard done... Yeah, has Trossard done more this year than Martinelli and Foden? And I would say he probably has, for me personally.
City are a close second. Champions League qualifications for the knockout. Still in the League Cup. If we go on that, then played nearly every game. No. But I mean, he's been one of the driving forces.
And I think if we look at what we've done for left back, things like that, it's easy to pick.
Martinelli is fab. I would just ask of the group: is he the finished article like Foden is? That's all I'd ask.
That's not
we're Martinelli.
And the same can apply to Saliba. He's not a finished article. As Sam said, he's played well this season.
Right. So what we say? Who's had the better 14 games out of Foden, Martinelli, and Trossard?
I think Foden. Me personally, Foden.
I'm gonna have to go with Foden then, because
Trossard's had 3 or 4 good games.
coming against the big team, so I loved it. All right, we go with Phil Foden on the left. This is going to be an interesting one. Right wing. We're moving on to the right-hand side. Omondi Juma. We're coming to you first.
This is where I was going to. I think Foden has to go in, and I would. Yeah, so Foden's in already.
Foden's on the left.
Right wing. I'm struggling now because I've just put 3 strikers.
I'll give you 2 names at the moment who I think, especially Saka's had a good season. Kulusevski for me has had and I think when you see him come against Liverpool, you understand what this guy brings. And since he's been injured, I think you realise how good he is since he's been injured.
Right.
And then Almiron's going to be the next one, I would say.
Almiron's left-footed, so
he's playing on the right. Yeah, he's playing off the right.
He's on my list as a midfielder, but yeah.
So
Almiron is a bit like. Almiron's a little bit like Mahrez, and he's incredibly left-footed, but plays down the right.
Yeah. So for me, those 3 have been the 3 right wingers in top of my head who I think of.
Almiron for me, no doubt. He's on my list as one of the 3 midfielders. But I just think, he's so he's so quick, man, so rapid. And I don't know what they did to press his buttons, but he's playing ball now. So fair play to him.
Jack Grealish, you can blame for that. You can blame Jack Grealish for that.
Why is that? What's the story?
He dissed him, didn't he?
When you come out, he's had that Instagram post with Bernardo Silva and something about if you're going to do this, you play like Almiron, basically saying he's shit, basically.
Yeah.
And then he just went on this amazing run after that.
It's brilliant. Ian, we'll come to you next on the right side of this.
Yeah. Saka for me, again, Almiron has had a great time, but Saka's the finished article. Like Foden, he's those 2 lads would be my pick every time. They're now finished products, those 2 guys.
Decent. Sam?
Yeah, the 3 players I'm going to go through: Almiron, Saka, and Kulusevski. The only reason I would have said Kulusevski all day for me, not just because I'm a Spurs fan, because of the difference he makes to our team. I can say the same thing about Saka as well, because I think everything usually goes down that side. I know you've had Martinelli, but you kind of play down Saka's side, well, you did against us anyway. Because Kulusevski's been out injured, and because of Almiron, he might just be having a purple patch at this moment, but we should look at the whole season. He's probably had a very good 8 games. But I'm going to go back to the very start of the season. Saka's been consistent all the way through. That's my pick.
Good show.
Sorry, I'm having.
Oh, you didn't catch that. You'll be happy to know it's your brother Saka who's going in that right wing. Wow. There you go. Should make you happy.
Sorry, I don't know what's happened to my internet at the moment.
Right, so we might as well finish the show then. Now, shall I go? Because there's no point.
Hold on.
Should we finish now?
Wait, who's
hold on. We ain't spent enough time. So we've got 2 votes for Saka, 1 for Almiron. I'm just going to shake up a little bit just to be interesting. I'll go Kulusevski because I do.
You're just throwing that in there for giggles.
Yeah, if you said Kulusevski, I was going to go Saka, but Saka was going in.
You know your player. Come on, I'm saying it from the time he's played. They don't even want to sub him, let alone not start him. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. So we're going to go into the striker. Now this is going to be interesting. Ian,
no, it's not. It's not going to be interesting.
Why not? Right. just say what you want to say. Sit back, chill, nice and relaxed.
I've never seen a player hit the deck running. A player who's never played in the Premier League, who's 20 years old, to hit the deck running. I've never seen a player hit the deck running like Haaland. When you've watched him, he's been man against boys until he picked up a little bit of an injury in the last couple of games. But I mean, he's bust all the records. He's hit the deck running with no hassle. He's thrown all his critics aside, shrugged them off like little kids. I think he's one of the most refreshing things to happen to the Premier League. And if I was at any other club, I'd enjoy watching Match of the Day or the games for that. I do think that Harry Kane has been as wonderfully consistent as he always is, particularly in the latter half. And I'm glad he's English and playing up front. And I think Darwin Núñez is starting to find a bit of form, and we're starting to see that he's not quite Andy Carroll after all. I think that's all I've really got to say. I can't think of anyone else as a centre forward who's impressed me that much really. Callum Wilson, I think he deserves his England place. Yeah, that's and the lad down at Brentford, Tony. He's a handful, but there's a giant amongst children really in the Premier League.
Okay, so we got one for Haaland. Omondi, who would you say your striker of the season's been so far? Now, yeah, you go first. You go.
Well, my good mate Ivan Toney gave me a tip. He said, "Not joking. Let's not get to bed."
It took me a second.
That was low, man.
It took me a second.
That's low.
I thought he should have got an England squad. I didn't know about this scandal, whatever, but I just think it's a shame. I thought he's been fantastic, Ivan Toney. But yeah, I agree with Ian, man. I mean, this guy's a beast, and it's scary, isn't it, to think physically he's going to master most centre backs. Obviously, we know most forwards are quicker than centre backs, but he's still up there. He's got the pace as well, and he's tall as well, so he can win headers, and he's got great movement as well. I mean, it's like, as a centre back, what are you going to do? How do you mark this guy? And I think they will find there's going to be Jordan rules, and I think the game changes. Sort of thing. There's got to be a way to sort of try to neutralise him the best way you can. And I think the teams are now putting their heads together to find out what's the best way to neutralise him, because he does a lot of work in the box. He comes in late, that kind of thing. So you got to block his run. You got to. So we played against him. He scored a hat trick. I mean, with Phil Foden as well. So they're a great team. But I just think, how do you stop this guy? What is there? You got to block his runs. You got to sort of try and get numbers in there somehow, and just to prevent him from getting there, because he will get there. He will come through you. Outstanding player. I want to see more of him. Yeah, great player. It's got to be Haaland.
So we've got two for Haaland, and as you're saying, Omondi, how do you stop him? And I think with Haaland, you stop the service, you might be able to stop him. But this is the problem, because it's City and there's so much players that can give service. If it's not Foden, it's Grealish. If it's not Grealish, it's De Bruyne. If it's not De Bruyne, it's Cancelo. It comes from all over the place. However, the guy scored about 16 goals and touched the ball about 25 times. So it might be, if with City it works, in other teams it might not. So Sam, are you going to give me someone different who offers maybe a bit more than just goals?
I'm going to try and talk down Haaland a little bit, because I've watched him play. Phenomenal goal scorer. He reminds me of Ruud van Nistelrooy in terms of that just out and out finishing ability. But there was definitely weaknesses in Van Nistelrooy's game, and there's weaknesses in his game as well. Yes, if you play deep, you can put crosses into him, but you can defend him. You have to play very aggressively, one tight, one behind. You can stop him. You can stop his run. If you watch his play, he always drifts to one side of the 6-yard box. So if the ball's on the right, he drifts to the left-hand side of the 6-yard box, because that's where he expects the ball to come. So if you play a 3-man defense, you block the areas, you can defend him that way. If they decide to play with a high line, they play the ball over the top. You've just got to anticipate what City are going to do. I've not really seen him pick the ball up, beat 1 or 2 men, and then drift off. What I've seen him do is go over the top. So there's much more ways of defending him than any other player that I've seen in terms of just out-and-out striker. Harry Kane, however, we've not seen the best of him, but you can't do exactly the same. He's a creator of the ball. He comes into midfield. He can create the... And he's scoring a rate that if you took Haaland out, we'd be saying, bloody hell, Harry Kane's got 12 goals in 14 games. Fantastic. But we've got a robot out there that's got 18 goals, which is different, but he's not doing the same things as Harry Kane's doing. So from a pure footballing perspective, I can see how Haaland can be stopped. Whether you can stop it because of the quality that City have got, I'm not quite sure. That being said, he's got 18 bloody goals. Harry Kane isn't at the level he was, so I'm going to have to go with Haaland. Even though I tried to talk him down, I'm still going to have to go with him.
Good points. Brilliant points you made there.
No problem. And then I've got last.
Can I just add one other thing? It'll be interesting to watch, Sam, is that Phillips, I watched Phillips come back at Chelsea, which was a really interesting to see. And he's a very, very different player to Rodri in that position. He's an absolute quarterback of a... He punches the ball over the top on that shoulder of the striker. It'll be interesting to see the connection between Phillips and Kane playing for England. And when the second half resumes, the service to Haaland might be different and even more effective with Phillips delivering it from that kind of quarterback position than it possibly is coming in from the flanks at the moment. Just a thought. But we'll see. If he can provide the bullets for Kane, boy, he'll provide them like in a machine gun for Haaland.
but Kane can also provide the bullets. That's the point. I don't think Haaland does that in any team that I've seen him play, even when he was playing at Dortmund. He's a very aggressive, very talented, brilliant finisher, as I said, a la Ruud van Nistelrooy, who was, I thought, one of the best finishers in the league. But there's ways of stopping him because I don't think
I
he's
agree,
an
but
elite player.
I agree, but in the Euros in particular, you know, you had the whole nation screaming at the telly, "Harry, get out of midfield for God's
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Get out of midfield."
Right. I'm going to wrap up on the striker. I'm going to wrap up on the
so
striker.
he's got to do what he's paid for, really.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear what everyone's gone for Haaland. Like, it's what we've seen from this guy is unheard of. And I think it's just a perfect fit going into probably one of the most creative sides we've ever seen in football history, especially in the Premier League. This Man City team is not human the way they play football. So it's understandable why he's hitting them numbers because the service comes from everywhere. I'm going to give a mention to Mitrovic. I think it's been a handful all season.
Good point.
He's had many a try in the Premier League and it never seems to click, but this year it seems to be clicking for him. So he gets a mention. I'm going to pick someone different though. I am going to go with Ivan Toney, just because I think his all-round game, he does a bit of the Harry Kane where he can come deep and provide, but he's also got the kind of power and drive to drive with the ball and get his team up. Do you know what I mean? It's something about him. You can see centre-backs hate playing against him. I like the way, the style, and more importantly, he scored 2 goals against City the other day to make us 5 points top of the league. So for that alone, Ivan Toney goes in. I don't know if I've frozen again.
No,
it's interesting that every season
Hello,
throws
sorry,
up
am
a
I
kind
back
of
again?
Ivan Toney.
Yeah. Did you catch everything
I was just saying that every season seems to throw up an Ivan Toney. You know, whether it was Danny Ings for a while, Ollie Watkins for a while. You know, there's always an Ivan Toney who comes through each season who surprises everybody. I just hope he can continue for 2, 3, 4 seasons.
Yeah, if he's allowed to play again this season, that is. But I'm sure we'll get to that at a later date. Right, last one, real quick, because I know we've gone over an hour, so I know some of you have got to shoot off. We're going to vote for who's the manager to manage this team. So let's run through the team again quickly. Who's the best manager for this? So we have Nick Pope in goal. And I actually feel to change my pick on that now because you lot ain't put enough Arsenal players in here. So, but no, we're going to stick with it.
Yeah, we
Nick
have.
Pope in goal, Rico Henry, left back, Kieran Trippier right back, Martinez and Saliba, your centre back pairing, midfield of Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, and James Maddison, Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka, and Erling Haaland as our 3. Who has been the best manager?
That's season? That's a front 3, isn't it? That's a hell. When you rename those front 3 again and think about it. Saka, Foden, and Haaland.
Erling Haaland.
Saka's going to be there at City soon, so you know what I mean. It could be a possibility.
Behave. I wouldn't even go against it. As long as Pep's there managing him, I wouldn't even mind him going there for 2 years because I think he deserves to play under that. But let's go for manager. I'm going to go first. I think it's out of 2 people. One being my guy, Mikel Arteta. I think he's had. Yeah, he's overachieved massively. I don't think anyone was expecting this from Arsenal. So he's got to be in with a shout. And Eddie Howe as well, done unbelievable at Newcastle. But for this, I'm going to go with Arteta's. He's my manager of the season so far. Sam?
You know what? Again, I'm going to throw out another curveball. This one, you might like Omondi. Now, Eric Ten Hag, I'm going to call him 11 Hag today because the problems that my man's had to face, he's similar to Conte in the initial stages, but if you're dealing with them egos at Manchester United, he came in as a manager who wants to play a certain way. He soon realised, shit, I can't play that way. He's had to develop a different style. He realised, flipping out, this player's not going to play for me. I've had to play. And he's still got results. And you're 5th. And I'm like, shit. The 3 points behind us with a game in hand. How's that possible? It can only be down to the manager because the harmony of those players last season was terrible. Even at the beginning of this season, I was like, these not going to win. When we played Brentford, I thought, they're fucked. And somehow, some way, he's been strong enough to deal with the Ronaldo situation. He's got bloody Fred McTominay still in midfield. How the hell's that working? How can he do that? What's this man doing at Manchester United? I'm going to give it to Eric 11 Hag. That's his name tonight, Eric 11 Hag. Well
You're upsetting me, Sam. You're upsetting me. Omondi, we're coming to you.
I want to give him a hug right now. Honestly, that speech, what he just said, was perfect. I could have said it better myself.
He's been watching your show too much, hasn't he? That's what it is.
Honestly, it was a wonderful speech, and he's right. Everything he said there was right. With what he's had to work with and all the issues, he's had discipline, something Arteta showed, which has taken him a long way. We've seen tonight, the last 2 nights, Ronaldo just being a complete
being Ronaldo.
Yeah, to be honest, and to manage all that and still have system. We saw against the most frightening attacking force this season in Arsenal when it came to Old Trafford, how he managed that and proved that systems win games. You know, so I'm going to go with Ten Hag as well. Sorry, guys, in the comments.
He's only been here since the summertime.
There you go.
Well.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying.
Listen to Shane.
I'm telling you, that's impressive. Very impressive for any manager. At Manchester United, when all their managers have gone before him, and they couldn't do it at this stage. I think he's done a fantastic job.
Just to add as well, everyone said, "Oh, yeah, you lost to Brighton, you lost to Brentford." He went on a 5-match winning streak after that, which is good. Turned it around, and then he dropped Harry Maguire as well. He's playing, you know, he don't play no games. Playtime's over for these players. And
do you just quickly, Omondi,
sorry,
what's your thoughts on? I know we've got to wrap up soon. What's your thoughts on this whole Ronaldo situation with how Ten Hag's handled it? Because I know what you're saying. But I feel he made a big mistake when he allowed him back in the dressing room after the Tottenham game. And then making him captain. Yeah, to me, that's not the strength of manager. That I'm not saying Arteta's be all and end all, but
you're scraping the barrel a bit here.
He's left himself vulnerable for this attack.
Well, you could say that, but I think you're scraping the ground. We're looking for something to criticize.
No. Right. I just feel if man done that to me, he can't play for me again, especially after he left in pre-season.
That's fine. Listen, let me hear this out. He knows what.
Amandi, before you go, because you got a great point. What did Mikel Arteta do with Granit Xhaka? Come on now.
No, but that's different. No, because he was he was a manager. He was a manager then. He was a manager.
The same principle about discipline.
No.
He should never be allowed back to play for Arsenal.
Can I vote for my manager? Can I vote for my manager?
Yeah, Ian, go.
Because I think the exam question was the 11 players we've picked. Who would you have manage them? And surprisingly, I wouldn't have Arteta and Pep because they take a couple of seasons to reprogram every player's brain to get the performance there. So unless we're prepared to wait a couple of seasons for our choice 11, I wouldn't go for those two gods. I think Eric Ten Hag has had incredible circumstances. You know, even when someone's chucked another £300 million bucket over him in the summer for United players, and I'm sure as heck he wouldn't get Jadon Sancho's vote for manager of the season. If you're going to have one manager who you drop into a mixed bag of team who've never played together and produce an incredible season, it's Eddie Howe.
Good point.
Ooh.
Because that's what he's done. That's exactly. He's taken 11 players who've never really played together and he's put them into a championship-threatening team. They've spent money, but they haven't just washed 300 million through a team that was already full of superstars like United.
I get that, but is he under the same pressures? Now, I know Newcastle have got the money now, but he's under no pressure to be in the top 4. If he gets there, great. Eric Ten Hag, I'm pretty sure has been said, you have to achieve top 4. That's regardless. This is why he's doing all what he's doing now. And he's only been here a few months. I'm not even saying it because I think he's potentially, better. I don't think he's better than Pep in such sense. But you're right in what you said about Pep. Pep has to have his formation. He has to have his formula. Ten Hag had a formula, but I've not seen him have to adopt that formula because of the players.
Talk about pressure. If Eddie Howe's team had been in the relegation zone, his owners might have been invited him on a trip around the Saudi embassy and see what happens then.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to dismiss Eddie Howe, but I'm saying top club.
I'd say that's pressure in the job. top 5, or it's a stoning, mate. I think that's pressure.
I'm with Ian. I don't think Ten Hag, for me, gets it. He's done well. However, we're talking, this is a Man United team. Yes, they haven't been great over the last few years, but you still got very, very big players. They're very good players. That if you can get a tune out of them, let's go through their squad. Their squad probably is on par with most of the top teams in England. Eddie Howe's done it with Jacob Murphy in there, and was it that Longstaff and players like that? It's not like they've just gone and
and Willock,
Joe Linton, who
Dan Burn going nowhere at Brighton.
Joe Linton, I think, was
flop.
voted flop of the season a year ago, or flop signing of the season. So,
Carl
I think he's had
injury
a good
hazard.
But
again, not the same sort of comparison. But what's his name when he was at Sheffield United? What's his name? That manager, he's
Wilder.
Wilder. When he came up to the Premiership, when they played their three, everybody was saying the same thing. Oh, look at this, brilliant. He's got no resources, but look what he's doing. That's about coaching. But what I'm saying is he's still not under the same pressures.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't care what anybody tells me. Eddie Howe is not under the same pressure as Eric Ten Hag is. I don't care what anybody tells me.
Do you think Ten Hag's under pressure? I don't think he's under pressure this year. I think United have tried the quick fixes a lot and they realised it doesn't work. And I think he's going to be the manager to be given time. I think Conte and Arteta are under more pressure. Arteta's this is his third season. He's got to deliver this year. He's under a lot of pressure.
But that's because
the pressure is not about top four, like you said. I think he could be forgiven if he comes sixth place. He wouldn't get sacked.
I've watched you lot shows. I think if you lot came 8th this year, but showed identity, got rid of some of your deadwood, and gave you a bit of something to believe in, he could come 8th this year, I feel, and you lot would be happy if you could see
look at the team.
Progress is.
We would look up and say, how do we get to that level? How do we reach Arsenal, who are above us right now? Arsenal came 8th 2 seasons running under Arteta. So do you see what I'm saying? But they know, the boards or the sensible people behind the club know, all right, this guy's onto something. They even brought in the TV cameras and recorded for a year because they knew they wouldn't be embarrassed. This guy is onto something here. And I think the same applies to Ten Hag as well. I think whether we get top 4 this year, it doesn't matter. We've got an identity. We're getting a system now again. And we've got a manager who don't take no SHIT. And that's what we need. And just want to endorse again. You want to know about Ten Hag, just speak to Sam. On
but the exam question we were given at the beginning was who was the best player for each of those positions so far this season, and when it comes to picking a manager so far this season who could knit the 11 players together we've picked so far this season, it's got to be Eddie Howe.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I
want to counter that. I think Eddie Howe, Eddie, listen, let me just break this down quickly. Just give me 30 seconds, please. Sorry.
You got it.
Eddie Howe has come up through the championship. Eddie Howe's come up through the championship. He's been chosen by Newcastle. They've got a project here. Said, right, let's get someone in who knows, who can sustain us for now. So he's brought English players, predominantly English players, and now he's brought in a couple of Brazilians and foreigners and all that kind of thing. But the majority of the team is English that get behind and understanding that he can work with. Could be labelled as championship players. What he's done with Willock, for example, Willock was not going anywhere, was he? What's he done with the Brighton left back or the big 6'5", 6'9"?
Dan Burn.
He's brought Trippier in as an English guy to get them going. Can they maintain? I don't know. But if you look at the heat map of how they play their football, they won't maintain the top 4 because they're doing it on energy right now and good management. I don't think he could come in and manage top players. He's managing Premiership level players or mid-team level players at the moment. This is what I'm saying. He's managing his English core team, but can he go ahead like at Bournemouth as well? Done fantastic for a period of time until it couldn't sustain it anymore. Can he manage?
I'm just answering the question that was posed at the beginning of the show. Yeah. That's as simple as that. That was the question.
That's the truth, and that's probably what we have to do.
The question at the beginning of the show was the best so far.
But okay, so if you had a choice,
if you give me 2 years, I'd put Pep Guardiola in there.
But then Eddie Howe, right? Is he going to be in? And I know we're not supposed to look a bit further ahead, but sometimes you've got to have these sort of things in to make a bit of a judgment call. Is Eddie Howe likely to be in this job in 2 years' time if another big manager became available? Let's say Eric Ten Hag became available. I don't think Newcastle would say, you know what, we like Eddie Howe that much, because as Omondi said, they're going to be starting to get bigger and bigger players. You need managers that can handle that. Graham Potter is a prime example of that. Brilliant manager at Brighton. I don't think he's going to make it at Chelsea because I just don't think them players can, not to say respect's the wrong word, but they can't look at him in the same way as they would look at someone like Zidane, Conte, Tuchel, Pep Guardiola, because he's not.
Good point.
Sam, I think you're right. But I'm answering the question that was posed.
Yeah, I
beginning, but I do think you're right.
To make my judgment,
and I did start my justification by saying if the project is over 2 years, my number one would be Pep Guardiola followed by Arteta. But I didn't think that was the question.
I hear you.
That's all. You're right. I
I
100% agree with you. 100% agree with you, but I didn't know whether that was the question. If you want a manager of that 11 players for the long term, then it's Pep or Arteta.
Let's reword the question because I think I've most confused everything with it. Who has been the manager of the season so far? Ian,
and now we're going to come back. Eddie Howe. I'm going to say that.
Eddie Howe.
Say that now.
Yeah, Eddie Howe.
Ian and Sam are going to Howe. Omondi?
Yeah, I'll go with Eddie Howe.
Disgusting. I'm going Arteta.
You want us to say Arteta? Come on.
I don't understand how you can't. 14
tonight.
games played, won 12, drawn 1, lost 1.
Yeah, but it's taken him 3 years to get there.
Exactly.
It's not about 3 years. It's about 14 games.
And half a billion or something like that.
Nothing. You lot spun that in the window. 14 games of football with a team that finished 5th last season. But it's all right. In the interest of fairness, I actually ain't mad at Eddie Howe because I think he's done an amazing job. Again, I think where he's taken them from, and they was in the relegation zone when he took over just over a year ago. To have them fighting for top 4 and not even doing it in a dirty way where it's defensive and counter attack. They're playing really good football, and I'm frightened to death of going to play them next season. I've said on the last stream, you will hear me talk about if we win the league after we played Newcastle in January, then I can say this team's for real or we're great pretenders.
You go to St James's Park and get a result there. Now that the way they're playing,
you lot laughed at us last season when that happened. it wasn't no joke. You know what I mean? It wasn't when they beat us up. For you to make our top 4.
Those Arsenal lads going to
freezing
Newcastle in January
like that game. So yeah, I like Eddie Howe. I think he deserves it.
Be -5 in St James's Park in January.
Yeah,
good luck.
Right.
Lads.
On that note, guys, we've gone over an hour, but it was a great stream. I think we're going to be doing something next week. So I'd love to have you 3 on again. Please, there's going to be extra people on as well. It's going to be a good show. But I'll give you the briefing later so you can get thinking.
If it's Gunner King, make sure you set it for a 3-hour show. That's all I'll say. Gunner King.
But yeah, on that note, guys, thank you for everyone who tuned in. Appreciate it. It was a brilliant show. There's not enough Arsenal players in that. Tony, if you don't mind, I'm going to send you over the list. If you can make up a little slide. I'm taking back Nick Pope. You're coming out of the team. Ramsdale's back in because you lot didn't give me enough Arsenal players. But yeah, no, it was a great stream, guys. Thank you for jumping on. Really
big up to Miguel.
Yeah, big up. He was saying here, Gunner King, he does like slow down the talk.
Oh, Gunner King, man.
He's thorough. He's very thorough. Guy.
Can you imagine him on the over? Can you imagine him on the over rate at cricket?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Seriously.
Oh dear. And yeah, this is a nice way to finish it. Let's read this. Sam, do you want to read this comment out for me, please? Let me get a nice
King's Football Show says top of the league.
I love having you lot on my channel. It makes such a difference. But no, guys, big up everyone. Again, if you're not going to bed straight away, please go over to United Agenda and watch part 2 of the Ronaldo wrap up. I haven't seen part 2 myself, so I'm going to watch that first, then go back and watch the channel afterwards. But I can't wait, man.
I can't wait. It's drama. It's like, who needs Netflix? Just got on YouTube, watch Piers Morgan. It's fantastic.
It's wrong, guys. It's wrong, though, isn't it? It's unprofessional. This manager, they don't disrespect the manager.
Yeah, he don't deserve that. And I think he'd be kicking himself for allowing him back in the dressing room after that Leeds situation. But again, I think what this will do, this is definitely, for all the fans I spoke to, apart from my mum, she's backing Ronaldo in this, as Omondi found out earlier. But everyone else is kind of, I think there's a lot more support for the manager now. I think there's less support for Ronaldo, which is going to help the manager. And if I'm a player in that dressing room, I'm 110% behind Ten Hag right now. That he's just distanced himself more. So this actually might benefit Man United in the long run. It might unify the players, the manager, and the fans a bit more together, and almost oust Ronaldo out of there. So
they have to get him out, though. They're going to have to get him out of the club. Just on that one, they have to sack him. If they allow him to stay, this will just rumble on. So they have to get him out. He's got to go. He's got to go. Or he's got to go and train with the kids or train by yourself. It's as simple as that. And he can't be anywhere near. The story won't be ending, though, because it's Ronaldo. You put him to train with the kids. That's a story in itself. The story will only stop when he's not at Man United.
100%.
I think this hasn't happened by accident. This is a planned strategy. He wants to exit. Yeah. He wants to be able to strike an expensive new deal at a new club, and this is his way of getting out for free.
And
again, we strategy.
And how football works, not to
And he doesn't care about the collateral damage. He only cares about him.
Yeah.
And again, if you know contracts and what their signing on fees and that look like, a lot of it is dependent on the club selling them rather than him forcing a move. So if he forces a move, he doesn't get a lot of the bonuses. Whereas if the club force him out, he will be entitled to some money. And again, if they terminate his contract and it's not a mutual termination, he would then be owed the rest of his contract in advance. So he's definitely put himself in a position where the ball's in Man United's court. What are they going to do? So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
If they fire him, he's done him up like a kipper.
But I'm behind Ten Hag in this one. I feel players get too much power at the moment.
I actually believe if the Glazers had enough balls, then they would sue the ass off him for breach of contract, defamation, and put an injunction on him. What they should do is actually seek a legal injunction so he can't play in the World Cup. That would make his eyes water. Well, why not? He's breach of contract. He's brought the club into disrepute. He's defamation against the owners. Take out an injunction, because that's what would happen if I did that in my job. That's what would happen. Yeah, 100%.
And
remember, it's owned by an American company.
They love
so it should be, but American law should probably come into play.
And Americans love to sue. Right, guys. On that note, we're out of here. Panel, I love all of you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Big up, Armoury.